can't get back into the Garden of Eden. We can't obtain immortality here on earth for a very good reason, and that is that God knows that we cannot master all of the 7 virtues. To me, a lot of the point of our lifetime on earth is to master these 7 virtues. You never actually get to the pinnacle of each of the virtues, but you strive to reach the pinnacle of these virtues. These are our earthly duties, you might say, to master the 7 virtues. There's the 4 cardinal virtues and the 3 heavenly virtues, and they all work in sync with each other at one point or another. But if you want to have immortality, then you have to die and be accepted to heaven by God. And then you get to spend eternity with God in heaven, doing whatever, I guess, that we would want to do in heaven for eternity, but not here on earth. But Dracula here, he has obtained immortality on earth in the story. So let's look at, we've already looked at the positive side of immortality if you were able to get it. I mean, imagine if a doctor developed a little magic purple pill. Of course, the pharmaceutical industry would have a cow if they did, because they would go bankrupt unless they could bank just on that purple pill. But if you had a little purple pill and they said, if you swallow this, you'll be immortal forever. If you did, we've already gone over the positives, and those are some really plus positives, and I can't say that I wouldn't want to have immortality under those conditions. But now we have to look at the negative aspects of immortality. The negative aspects of the violation of the 7 virtues. So let's go through these real quick. Justice. Justice is represented by the scales because justice has a balance. The human heart on one side measured against the feather, just as the Egyptians said in the Book of the Dead. You weigh your sins of the heart against your soul, and they at least have to come up even. Hypothetically, they would like for the feather to weigh more than the human heart. But the point is that it would be impossible for you to be just, because if you're immortal, then the justice that you would put forth would be whatever you want it to be. You would always want things to be. Now, you might say, no, I would be just, because I would be immortal, and I would know all of these things, and I would have traveled all these places, and I would have known all these women. No. You wouldn't. Because over time, you would realize that justness is what you want it to be. So therefore, you'd violate justice right off the bat. It wouldn't take you long. And then the second thing is courage. Now, you might say that courage, that's courage running into battle. But sometimes courage is knowing when not to run into battle. Sometimes it takes more courage to not go into battle because you use a little bit of foresight and realize the consequences, and so you use your courage wisely. True courage is when you gain the courage within yourself to do the right thing. It's not necessarily putting your head in the lion's mouth. That's not always courage. Sometimes that is foolishness. And so you're going to violate the courage because you're immortal. You can do anything. You can run into battle because they can't kill you. You can run into battle if you want without suffering the consequences, but you will suffer the consequences. You just won't die. So you're going to abandon courage. Temperance. Temperance is truly the balance of all things. All things must be tempered. Temperance doesn't mean necessarily with the temperance movement of the prohibition years of abstaining from things. Temperance doesn't mean that you abstain from the fruits of life. Temperance means that you balance those things against what is best for you. You pause and wait, and you evaluate what you need and what you don't need. But if you are immortal, then you don't. Temperance is whatever you want. Your appetites know no bounds. You do not have to be temperate. Therefore, you violate temperance. And then prudence. Prudence is wisdom. And wisdom is actually, and I don't want to get into too deep into the mud on this, but prudence is actually the culmination of the first 3 cardinal virtues and the 3 heavenly virtues which compose prudence. Prudence is the prize winner of them all. And believe me, if you have immortality, you will not have wisdom. You'll have knowledge, maybe, a lot of knowledge. Dracula has a vast amount of knowledge because he has lived hundreds of years. But that does not mean that he has wisdom. You'll violate wisdom. And then the 3 heavenly virtues of faith, hope, and charity, real quickly, you will not have any faith because your faith will be in yourself. It will not be in God or your fellow man. You will be your God. You will be God on earth. That's what Dracula thinks of himself if you read the book. On hope, there is no reason to have hope. Hope is useless to him because what is there to hope for? Everything is at his fingertips. He doesn't have to hope for anything. Hope is actually the salvation that God offers us in our disparity. Dracula doesn't have to worry about that because he doesn't have to worry about being one with God or one with anybody because he's already achieved immortality. And charity is not giving to goodwill. Charity is the act of accepting God's love by learning to love yourself. Self-confidence to an extent. Okay, so hopefully that will explain why, if you believe in the Bible, if you believe in God, if you believe in the concepts of the 7 virtues and why we should achieve them on earth and what rewards we get from those while we're on earth, as well as our entry into heaven and finding immortality there, which at that point we can cope with it because we'll have God with us and He'll work it all out with us. Now, I hope you understand why Dracula is a tragic figure and not just a simple horror movie. It's simply not a slasher movie with blood and gore, even though a lot of the Dracula films do have a lot of blood and gore, and there's nothing wrong with blood and gore. But I like a little deeper story than just having the blood and gore. I like to have a really deep story and a lot of blood and gore. And that's what you get in Dracula. That's why I like it.